Sage and Stone Homestead. My name is Heather. Today is Monday. It's the day before Halloween. I had thought that our freeze was coming in on Halloween Eve, but it's coming in tonight, Halloween Eve. So I've lost a day of preparation. It's got me a little bit stressed out, but winter comes every year and it is okay. However, I know I'm not the only one who makes like mental checklists, and then as you go to fall asleep you're worried that you're gonna forget something. So I made a list of things to do today. So this video is gonna be vlog style. It's gonna be a lot less instructional on how to do some of these things because I have a lot to get done before the freeze, and I thought you guys might like to see all that goes on in a situation like this. I think today our high is somewhere in the 40s. It's cold. It's not supposed to be sunny at all, and then our low is 27, which is absolutely a hard freeze. And just a few days ago our high was just 80, like it was exactly 80, and the low was like 69, so that was nice. This is less nice, and the issue is that it's coming on really hard and really fast, and it's not great for the plants that we have, but it's also really not great for the animals that we have. Fluctuations in temperature like that really can help pneumonia settle in, and goats can be prone to getting pneumonia. I've seen it a couple times in young babies, and I do have 5 of those in the barn. Kind of dark in here. There's some of the babies. How are you doing? It's not food time, okay? I mean, clearly, goats don't understand that. With goats, it's always food time. Yep, we've got snot already. Oh, Shandy. Hey. See, little boy is a little bit hunched right here. That hunchy stance can mean a few things. It can mean that they're sick. But given the fact that we're seeing such a drastic drop in temperature, I'm gonna guess that little boy is cold. We'll definitely keep our eyes on everybody, especially Shindy. I didn't like that sneeze. Can you see how even Calamity's got kind of just her hair fluffed out? She looks cold. And it's only gonna get worse at night at least. Thankfully it's only for a few days. But that fluctuation, again, from warm to cold and then cold to warm, it's not good as far as pneumonia goes. Come on. Come on, ma'am. Come on. All right. Come on, sweet girl. Let's go. Come on. Got a girl. Follow me. This way, around this way. I know it's wet. Come on, we'll open the door. Let's go. This way, you follow me. Good job. Come on. Nefarious. You can jump it. You're a big, strong boy. All right. This poor little Arizona heart doesn't know what to do. The reason that I'm playing musical goats today is I have a couple of pastures that the house that's in those pastures is pretty new. It has a dirt floor, and each house has a pallet so that the goats can get up off of the ground. This is what our land is 200 days out of the year. It's muddy and mucky and very wet. I've had people ask me, why don't you keep your quail outside in an aviary? Why don't you keep your rabbits outside on the ground in tractors or in colonies? That is why. And with goats, they can be cold, okay? I'm not worried about that. What's not good is them being wet and cold. That's not good for basically anything, except for cows. Cows, they can handle a lot. All right, I need you two that look muddy and cold. You're coming with me. Come on. There you go. Good boy. Come on, bud. Come here. Let's go this way. I know, it's a river. You can do it. Good boy. Come on, Farrell. Let's go, bud. Come on, you can do it. Jump. There you go. Good boy. Hey, let me get this off. Good job. Hang on. Hang on. Okay, you want to go in there? Let's go in there. There you go. There you are. There, that makes me feel a lot better. I have some bedding that I'm gonna throw in these pastures as well when it gets a little bit later on in the day. But each little pen here, like I mentioned, it has one pallet on the inside, and 3 and 4 goats don't fit as well on one pallet, and sometimes they can bully, goats can bully other goats off of like prime bedding spaces, and so splitting them up is gonna keep them drier. And like I said, as long as they're dry, goats are fine in the cold. See how wet it is here in the greenhouse? I haven't watered. We've gotten 6 inches of rain. That's what happened. I like that the rain does seep into the greenhouse like this, because rainwater is really good for your plants. And in a situation like this, that's one of the drawbacks, because a lot of times the rain doesn't come in. But the way that our ground works, the rain absolutely comes in. So I don't have to water. That's great. All of the plants look good, and you can see that each row is elevated, so we don't have roots sitting down in the moisture. But it is 100% time to roll down the sides in here. So because the freeze is coming a whole day earlier than I had originally thought, I don't have time to put these cauliflower and cabbage seedlings in the ground, and I wanted to do that so that I could, you know, insulate their roots better. So what I'm gonna do is use my little greenhouses within a greenhouse. These things are awesome. They provide a second layer of protection, because the insulation that these pots can provide is really minimal. There's a very small amount of space between the cold air and those roots. And so I'd like to insulate them as well as I can. Those need to go in the ground really soon though. Don't break. Don't break, not today, not today. There's a little hole here, but that should be okay. So I've got quite a few things that I've had curing in the greenhouse for quite a while. A lot of these squash actually have started to rot. See the top here? I haven't had this happen before. Now this is only my 2nd year growing tromboncino, but a lot of the tromboncino that I grew this year have done this. So this is chicken food at this point. The ones that are fine though, like this one, we're gonna bring them inside. They could, especially in the greenhouse, they could withstand a freeze, but they're plenty cured and I've got space inside. They need to go in there. The smaller birdhouse gourds that I have in the greenhouse look kind of scary as they're curing, but they're doing what they should. And from what I've read, birdhouse gourd, when it's mature and it's got this brown stem like this, it's fine for it to freeze. So I'm going to leave these out here. This curing table that I have is the best place for them. It allows for a lot of airflow, and so far I'm really happy with what they're looking like. I am going to spread them out just a little bit to help increase airflow. Look at this tomato. So I've got quite a few surprise or bonus squash out here on the place that we have lovingly dubbed the lane. I haven't messed with this area in a couple months, but hasn't mattered. It's just kept on growing. Now this tromboncino squash isn't the ripe color that I like in order to bring it inside and keep it for long-term storage. When I press my thumbnail on the rind, you can see that my fingernail has left a depression there. This squash is still perfectly good to eat. We have a lot of this in the freezer. I freeze dried a whole bunch of this. Since it started to turn a little bit yellow, it might cure inside the greenhouse on my curing rack. So I guess we can take it as an experiment. It's big. Wow, this one's heavy. We also have a few bonus spaghetti squash down here that I did not expect to get. And these are quite green. This one has started to turn a little bit yellow, so this one might cure. Ooh, doing pretty good. Okay. So as happens pretty often on farms and homesteads, you can make a list, you can make a plan, and then somebody throws a wrench in it. So I've grabbed Shindy because I wasn't out just to notice her nasty nose and her sneeze and do nothing about it, especially when we know that there's bad weather coming. Goats, just like humans, can get like the common cold, and you know, it can start out that way. Pneumonia can. And the reason that I'm going to be treating her for pneumonia today is because of the color of that mucus that we saw. It was very opaque. A clear discharge is less of a worry to me. A clear discharge could be, okay, like a dusty barn or something like that, you know, but when it's like opaque like that, usually it means that there's some kind of infection. When I picked her up to bring her over here, I could hear her chest rattling. So I am going to take her temperature and I am going to give her some antibiotic, and I'll show you what that looks like. But you have to get your head locked in properly first. This way. Good girl. I talked about the book that I pulled this out of in my recent video about my favorite homestead books. Sometimes when I'm stressed and my mind is going a million miles an hour with all the things that need to be done, I forget what needs to be done when something happens. Something that might seem simple on any given day when there's no stress is hard for me to put the pieces together when there's stress involved. And so I really enjoy the binder that Delcy put together. I'll put a link for her goat resources in the description box below. And she's got a whole treatment plan for pneumonia. So we've listed some fever reducers and pain relievers here, and she's got a whole list of antibiotics and the dosages for goats. Says that we can give Robitussin DM should it be needed, electrolytes, thiamine if she's off feed, which she is not. It says thiamine must be given if the goat is off of feed. Their brain function depends on it, and their rumens produce it, but will stop producing it if they are off of feed. That's why it's very important for goats to keep ruminating, because if they don't, it's this snowball and a spiral. But she's doing well. So it says symptoms of pneumonia. A high fever of 104 to 106. A goat should be between 102 and 103. When it's cold outside, this isn't exceptionally cold, so I expect her temperature to be fine. But when it's cold outside, they can read a little bit lower than that and it still be normal. So let's check. All right, Shindy's temperature is 102.8, which is beautiful. So she may not need treatment because she's eating, her temperature's good, but like I said, I don't like the color of that mucus, and I know we're coming into worse weather. Conditions are ripe for pneumonia, so I'm gonna treat her for it. I have a few different antibiotics in my arsenal, and there's quite a few listed here. Not all of the ones that she has listed here are available over the counter. Actually, that's her coughing. Actually, none of these are really available over the counter right now. You might get lucky and go to a store that happens to have antibiotics on hand. Stores right now are allowed to sell the antibiotics that they have, but they're not allowed to order more. At this point, you have to get your antibiotics through a vet, and it's really important, in my opinion, to have something on hand for days like this when it would be really hard to drop everything that I have to do here and take her to the vet. Would I? Yes, but I would prefer not to. So I do have antibiotics on hand. This one is LA200. It's also called oxytetracycline. She's done with me. I need to give you this. And I have assumed that she's about 50 pounds, but I am gonna double check that. So I've got enough medicine in here to treat her should she be what I expect her to be as far as weight. So it's kind of dark in my barn right now. I apologize for the light, but what I use to get the goat's weight when they are too big for my hanging scale, hi baby, is this weight tape. These are not the most accurate thing, but they're going to be good enough for what we're doing. So what we do is place the weight tape around her heart girth here, and where the tape meets itself, look at that. It's in between 48 and 51 pounds. So right on the money for what I thought, which is great. I have been keeping track of their weight. So we've pulled enough medicine. I need to give her this antibiotic in a subcutaneous injection, which just means under the skin. And the best spot for that is behind her little elbow right here. There's a little fat pad, a little pocket of skin that we can pull out and inject the medicine in. And she's gonna hate it. She's already mad that I took her away from the hay rack. Hang on. Got my needle. We're gonna put it right here, just under the skin. It's thick. Okay. Good girl. Oh, she's really gonna hate me at the end of these 5 days because I need to do this every day for 5 days. Hi, handsome boy. He loves the cold. He's been begging me for a TREAT all day. Do you want one? You're a good boy. He does. He's so excited about the cold weather. You're a good boy. Come here, you're a good boy. Hold on. I know he loves these. Show the people your trick. Sit. About right. Before anybody comes for me, this is a really high quality beef stick made for people. That's gone. It's gone. All gone. You can't eat this. That's garbage. You wolfed that. Maybe tomorrow. Go play. Tomorrow, buddy. It is time to harvest loofah. Unfortunately, none of my loofah have had time to mature and have like a nice hard brown skin like you ideally want. The ones that have started to turn brown have actually started to rot. I've been YouTubing like crazy about how to peel these while they're green. I can't do it today, but my plan is to put it in the next video. Today, I just need to get these off and down and inside so that they don't freeze. So these loofah are not all like a harvestable maturity. Some of them are quite green. This is one of the first loofah that we noticed growing way back in the summer. And there's like this hollow pumpkin type sound to it. And it's very firm, like it's super hard. If you get some that are like this, you can squish them. And I think these hold less promise. So I'm gonna focus my energy on ones that have like a harder thump to them, if that makes sense. I don't know if you can see my wonky trellis here. It's lifting with each loofah that I pull off. This poor trellis, I think it's ruined. Yeah, okay. So these ones that are squishy, I was like, I wonder if there's anything happening on the inside. I mean, there's a lot happening in there, but it's not forming that like skeleton that we're looking for our loofah sponge. I guess it kind of is forming it. Can you see the fibers there? But these are just not as far along, and my guess is that these would not cure. Is it curing? These wouldn't dry well and become a sponge. And these little white seeds that are in here, these are not viable. Loofah seeds, when they're viable, are black, and you usually have to wait for them to completely dry on the plant before you get any black seeds. Sounds promising. Here's our bounty. I think that that's plenty. Even though it's cold outside, we are headed for the heat of the day, and so I'd like to get harvested what I want to harvest out of the garden before it freezes tonight and get things covered. I have frost tolerant plants in here that may be okay. The freeze is coming on so fast and so hard that I am not really sure. You wouldn't normally have to cover lettuces and chard and pak choi and things for a 27-degree low, except for we haven't even seen anything close to that. So these plants haven't had a chance to acclimate, and so I just want to get what I can out of them and then hopefully get them through the next few nights, which are all 3 hard freezes. This bit over here has some lettuce in it in the back that I'm growing for baby greens, But up here we've got basil. Basil is not frost tolerant at all. It's very frost tender. So I'm going to take all of these little plants. The lettuces that we have right here are what I hope to carry through this freeze the most. I have really enjoyed picking a variety of different salads out of this bed, and there's still a lot of opportunity to do that from these plants should they make it, but I am going to pick them down quite heavily so that it's easier for me to cover them. So you can see that I've double layered some things in an effort to protect them more. More layers of insulation absolutely helps, but one of the other reasons for just putting something, anything, like I put a basket right here, kind of amongst your plants to elevate your frost cover above the plants, is what the plants really need is a pocket of insulation around the tender leaves to help keep them protected. In the past, when I have just thrown a sheet over plants and allowed the sheet to come in contact with the majority of the leaves, where those leaves contacted the sheet, the leaves still burned. They still frost burned. And that's because frost still will accumulate on these sheets, and it still will penetrate, and it can affect those plants if they don't have that barrier of warm air. So I've stuck boxes and baskets and totes and things on top of some plants, but with these here, I've left some of these stems from harvesting. I've left them long so that they can help support the sheet up above the center leaves, and hopefully we can get these through. So I had it on my list to pick a bouquet of flowers, and I've got two here. I've really enjoyed the flowers in the garden this year, especially this rose that I purchased earlier in the year. This is called a secret tea rose. It's so fragrant. I wish you guys had smell-o-vision. So I wanted to make sure that I did get a bouquet of flowers in the house so I could enjoy them just for a few more days. it's nice and warm in the greenhouse. It looks like stuff has survived in here. And you know what? I think the jury is still out whether or not the greens that are in the raised bed garden, whether they're going to survive or not. Some of the leaves are looking pretty translucent. By the time I need to cover them again this afternoon, I should be able to tell. Sometimes as things are thawing out, you can get some hope. You're like, oh, this looks not too bad. And then by midday and towards the end of the afternoon, everything is really starting to wilt and turn brown. So we're just going to have to wait and see. But this majestic thing is alive. Because that tomato survived last night, these seedlings definitely don't need to be double protected like we had them last night. I'm glad I did it just in case, but they'll be all right sitting out in the chair for the next couple nights, because again, we are gonna have 2 more nights of this. One of the things that I think really saved this greenhouse last night is around 4 o'clock, the sun came out and it was so bright. So the greenhouse was able to collect the sun's energy for a good hour and a half before the sun completely went down. And so that was a huge blessing. That was several degrees worth of heat that got retained in here. And so that's why everything did so well, I'm sure of it. Today's high is only gonna be like 47, but it's also going to be sunny. So I do have this vent fan here and these automatic louver vents right here, and both of these systems are temperature regulated. They're automatic, so when the temperature gets, I think it's 75, both of these things will activate and will cool things down. And so even with the sides down and the sun out, with it being 40 something outside today, we should be able to maintain a good temperature in here and get through the next few nights pretty well. The tomato that's over here by these gourds is doing less okay. Can you see how dark those leaves are and how wilted this is? This plant pretty consistently touches the wall of the greenhouse here. Plants really do need some kind of insulation of air between them and that barrier fabric, because it is that pocket of air that insulates them and protects them from the cold. All right, so 2 more nights of this. Again, I'm not really sure how the raised bed garden is going to fare, but at least everything seems fine here in the greenhouse.